Hey, Annie, can you hear the music? Bummer. Okay. Okay, can you hear me well? Annie, can you hear me well? Is it? Does it say anywhere? Does it say that there's 3 people here? Again, I'm pretty new to this live thing. Well, it's 12:01. I can wait a little bit to see if anyone else shows up. But there are 3 of us here right now. It's fantastic. Let's get the conversation going, though, as we're waiting a little bit. Kind of curious what's going on in you guys' lives. What are you doing right now? What's life at your house like at the moment? Not everybody at once, guys. Not use a chat, people. I know I can't hear you. Don't talk. Oh, Alex is telling me he's doing the dishes. Are you in your underwear doing the dishes? That's the big question. All right, we up to 4 people. Excellent. Homework and school. What's your homework and school stuff like? Like, how are you doing homework and whatnot? That's a big no on the underwear thing. That's good. You're still getting dressed. You're not into this quarantine thing so bad that you're not getting dressed. That's good. Already 5 minutes into this thing. Wow. I wonder if I can cut out the first part. I really wanted the first part of this just to be people on the chat going online talking about stuff. Google Classroom. I would have you describe that, but that might be tough in the chat. My life right now is kind of I'm more in the office actually at the moment than I normally am because I'm trying to figure this stuff out with how to do live stream and the video stuff. But the two so Alex is on here. For those of you who don't know, Alex, hopefully you remember him as the guitar guy from youth group. He hasn't been at youth group for a while. That's not a knockout. You've been busy at work. He went to Lithuania. Was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. Then Trump came out about 4 days, Al, maybe 5 days while you were there, and said, no one's coming from Europe. You got like a day to get out to get back to America. So he got on a plane, got back to America. He's currently being quarantined for 14 days. I don't know. What are you in day like 7, 8 right now? You got like 6, 7 days left on that thing. He's getting paid, and he's a lucky dog because Kinsey's working like 24 hours a day, 7 days for this whole week, and he's missing out on that. So that's lucky dog, dude. Sitting at home doing your dishes, not in your underwear, and enjoying your apartment more than you probably wanted to. Day 6, he says. Also, besides Alex, that's kind of like the closest person to maybe having coronavirus that I know, other than Jonathan Coleman, my good buddy out in New York. I don't know if you know, New York State is like the super hotbed for corona in the United States. There's like thousands of cases. I don't know if it's like 30-40% of the cases in America are in New York. New York City is obviously very confined. I talked to Jonathan a couple days ago. He wanted to go on a date, but there was nowhere to go take the girl. So they just called it off. So romance is dead in New York City. Anyways, you can be praying for those guys, obviously, and especially Jonathan, because he's in New York City. It's a very interesting place. If you want to Google map it, he lives like 2 blocks off of Columbus Circle, and I think that's the southern side of Central Park. I believe it might be the northern side, but it's on one of the ends. But just Google search Columbus Circle. All right, we still only have 4 people here. Barely anybody in the chat. That's fine. I'm going to just get started. One of the things that I wanted to talk about, or the thing that I wanted to encourage you today with, is patience. Patience. So, number one, patience is something that you do and not what someone else does. What other people do to you is whatever they're doing. Your emotional reaction to that is what I'm going to call patience. Your reaction to what others are doing to you. And so it doesn't matter what your circumstances are. Patience is that thing that you're doing as you're reacting to things. And the other thing that I would just mention is Brielle was here. There's only 3 people now. I don't know, did Al get out or something? Anyways, yesterday, Psalm 23 verse 2 says that God makes us lie down in green pastures. And I was talking to Steve and Sarah last night. I went over to their house for games. Don't worry, they haven't left their house for like a week or something, so I'm good with them. Basically, they were just talking about how this has really been refocusing our attention on things that are less important and could focus it on more things that are more important, like our families and hopefully God. So this could be very much a blessing in disguise, and that's what I kind of wanted to talk about today. There we go. The sun's kind of right in my face. Basically, here's the thing. I don't know. Tacey, Nadia, Kenna, probably a lot of the high school students were involved in the musical, and tomorrow was supposed to be the first performance. Clearly, that's not happening right now. So I wanted to address sort of that disappointment that we're all facing right now because of this coronavirus and what's going on. And in look up Psalm 105, and we're going to be in verse, I think, 16 through 19. Verse 16 starts off by saying, he called down famine on the land, destroyed all their supplies of food, and he sent a man before them. Joseph sold as a slave. They bruised his feet and with shackles. His neck was put in irons till what he foretold came to pass, till the word of the Lord proved him true. Basically, the thing that is in there that I kind of want to hit on is in verse 19, till what he foretold came to pass. Or in verse 17, he sent a man before them, Joseph, sold as a slave. They bruised his feet, shackles, his neck was put in irons until he foretold what he had, till the word of the Lord proved him true. The story of Joseph, some of you don't know, so let me just really quickly recap. Joseph was one of the youngest sons of 12. His favoritism from his dad made his brothers really jealous. They sold him into slavery. He had to go to Egypt. He had a really bad life as a slave for several years. A lot of bad things happened to him, and yet he continued to trust God. He continued to obey God and live for God in spite of his circumstances that were happening to him. And eventually, he becomes the second most powerful person, maybe even the most powerful person, looking at what his job was in Egypt, in all the world. He was extremely powerful, and he literally, through God's provision, was able to save lots of lives because God was intervening through Joseph. And so that verse, basically what the psalmist is saying here is that Joseph had to go through some bad stuff, but God sent him to Egypt, and till what he foretold came to pass, till the word of the Lord proved him true. There was some time in there where Joseph was waiting on God, and that's kind of the big picture here that I want you to see, is that right now we need to wait on God. That's one of the toughest things in the world to do, because while we're waiting, a lot of bad things can happen. But ultimately, in this story, God had a plan. God had a purpose. God had something that he was doing that nobody else could see, especially Joseph. Joseph was just the guy that had to deal with what was happening. And so right now, tomorrow, missing out on the musical on Friday is a huge bummer. And bummer is not even the right word. It just downright stinks. Okay. Any of you students that were going to plan on doing that, really stinks. All that hard work that you did might seem like it's wasted. There's lots of adults. Renee Andrews obviously was sort of the head person in that. I'm sure she's not feeling super excited about missing out on that. And the potential there is, obviously it's supposed to happen a week after you guys go back to school, but the chances that you don't go back to school are better than zero. Like, it might not ever happen. And so right now, as we're feeling really upset about things, and that's just one thing that you guys are dealing with. Obviously, anybody who's out for track or sports, maybe you love baseball season may not happen. It's all these things, huge disappointment. But the thing that I want to encourage you with is that while all these things are happening, God's doing something. God has a bigger plan and purpose happening. And I want to encourage you that not to get too discouraged, but to trust in God. I've said it 100 times, or I've said it 1,000 times, that every time something bad happens, and this is one of those moments, we either can run to God or we can run away from God. And I don't want you to run away from him. I want you to trust in him more. I want you to I know it's difficult. I know it's easy to say and hard to do, but we need to trust God that what he's doing right now, this didn't surprise him. What is happening right now is not a shock to him. There's something else going on that he's either working or can use this to glorify himself and to make some huge blessings happen in our lives. So with that, the other thing that I wanted to encourage you with was in Isaiah chapter 40. Let me get that out. Verse 27 to 31. Let me just quickly read. It says, "Why do you complain, Jacob? Why do you say, Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord. My cause is disregarded by my God. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on the wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not grow faint." So bottom line is, I love where it says in verse 28, "Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God." So that just kind of goes on what I was just saying about how God has a plan and a purpose. God is God. Like, all of this stuff that's happening right now can be very discouraging and upsetting and whatnot. God is still God. Have you not heard? Do you not know that God is the creator of the universe? That this virus, while there are very intelligent, very hardworking people right now trying to figure out the answers and the solutions to this, we serve a God who already can snap his fingers and it just disappears. The coronavirus would go away in a second if God just snapped his fingers. There's a purpose on what he's doing, and we serve an all-powerful God that we need to trust in what he's trying to do. So with that, I do have, because we're already at 15 minutes and I didn't really want these things to go that long. I just have a couple applications. Number one, yesterday I forgot to tell you this or talk to you about this, and I totally meant to, but since we're doing it every day, we can kind of fix things, I guess. Number one, we need to be in prayer. Okay, we need to be praying for each other. Use the chat as a generic prayer request if you want to share, like, hey, this is what's going on in my life right now. Please pray for this. Struggles that are happening in your life. Some very, if you have a specific prayer request, you can send me an email, message on Facebook. You can send something on the Snapchat that only the group can see for sure. But we need to be in prayer for each other. We need to be praying for your parents. Be praying for their jobs. Be praying that the economy doesn't totally tank and create some crazy jobless rates. Definitely be praying for your parents. Be praying that God continues to provide for us financially and economically. That might look way different going forward, but continue to pray that God will provide for us. Pray that for wisdom, obviously, for our leaders, not only the president, but the governor and anybody who's working on this right now in the state of Iowa needs wisdom to make the right choices. We need to be praying about this. And in light of that, so Friday is, we're in the middle of Lent right now, and Fridays are meatless Fridays. You eat fish, you don't eat red meat or whatever. So a lot of people don't. I'm calling on you guys. I'm going to tomorrow fast and pray, and I'm going to be fasting and praying every Friday until Easter. We can call it Fasting Fridays, I guess, or whatever. What fasting is you don't eat anything, drink only water, and pray. The prayer part is a very important aspect. If you fast with no prayer, it's just dieting. You're just going to lose some weight that day. Fasting, the whole purpose of fasting is saying, I'm giving this up so I can focus more on God. And so I want you guys, this is what I'm going to do. I want you to do it as well, that tomorrow from midnight to midnight, fast and pray. Turn to God, look to him. He is God. He's the creator of the universe, and he has the answers. And we, his people, need to go to him and ask him for guidance and help and wisdom and provision during this time. So fast and pray. I know some of you maybe not very comfortable with praying. For those of you who are not, all I want you to do is throughout the day, go find a place by yourself and start a conversation with God by saying, God, I need help. And then just, start talking to him about what you need. And while he already knows what you need, he wants to talk to you about that. So I would definitely encourage you tomorrow, fasting and praying. Okay. Don't eat, drink water, but don't eat food, and pray. And you know what? You're going to get really hungry, and you are going to, around lunch or whatever, you're going to be like, man, I'm really hungry. Don't eat, pray. Okay. Just on Friday. I'm not doing this every day, but fast and prayer tomorrow, starting at midnight. And is this Nadia Shafbo? Please pray for Marta. She is in deep worry for her mom, helping those with COVID-19. Her grandma, who is locked in Ukraine, and the lends her host family. Okay. Marta, by the way, is the Ukrainian foreign exchange student. Is that correct? Saying with Colton at the. Okay. And Annie is asking for prayer for a family friend that has stage 4 cancer. That we would need prayer for, regardless of the COVID stuff or whatever. But yes, we'll be praying for them. And then Nadia confirms that Marta is the foreign exchange student. So, all right, I'm going to close this out in a word of prayer, and then we will be dismissed. I'm going to push stop, and then you go about your day. So, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity we have through technology to stay connected. I do want to pray, Lord, that you would just bless the students, help them to have patience in this time, help them to wait through on you. Waiting on you, it can be very difficult, Lord, but give us strength to do that. It says in Isaiah that when we hope in you, we are given new strength. So I pray, Lord, that you would just give the students new strength, help them to just deal with what's going on. Again, it's really early in this process, but this is this is a new normal for a while, and I pray that you would give everybody the patience and the strength to endure through it. I do pray for Annie's family friend who has stage 4 cancer. I want to ask that you would watch over them, especially with this crisis. But Lord, physically help them, give them strength, help doctors find the the right treatments for them. But ultimately, I don't know where they are with you spiritually. I pray that you would just bring believers into their life if they don't know you, that would share the gospel with this person. I also pray for Marta, that she is separated from her family in a time of crisis, and it's very scary. I pray that other people in her life, her host family and friends here in Iowa, will be able to be come alongside her and give her encouragement as she. It's got to be a very worrisome situation for her, and I just pray that you would just give her strength and a peace of mind as well. Thank you, Lord, for again this opportunity we have to be together through technology. In Jesus' name, Amen. All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow at noon. Stay healthy.